Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another PlayStation 4 review. Today's review is for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the newest entry into the legendary franchise. Now, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, wow, we've had to wait an extra year for this one. The last time Ubisoft did this, it led to Assassin's Creed Origins and a new direction for the franchise. And what is my history of the Assassin's Creed games? Well, I've played every single one of them. I've enjoyed some of them more than others. Am I a traditionalist? Do I prefer the earlier Assassin's Creed games? Not necessarily. I'm all for games evolving and moving forward with modern gamers, and I think some of the older Assassin's Creed games are fairly dated now, and some of those mechanics are fairly dated. But I've played all of them. Highlights for me were Black Flag. I liked Syndicate as well, and I actually really liked Assassin's Creed 3 as well. That got a lot of flack at the time, but I think it's actually pretty decent. But I have to say, when they came back with Assassin's Creed Origins, with me being a fan of RPGs in particular, I loved this new direction for the Assassin's Creed franchise. I really enjoyed Origins. I thoroughly enjoyed Odyssey. So I'm safe to say I've been really looking forward to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And in a nutshell, is this game good? Well, yes, I think it is very good. I think very easy thing for me to say is, if you have enjoyed this new direction for the Assassin's Creed games, in particular obviously Origins and Odyssey, then you're going to like this game, because it follows a similar pattern in regard to gameplay and mechanics. However, it has made some changes to try and appease some of those more traditional Assassin's Creed fans, and by that the Order of the Assassins and the Templars take a little bit more of a centre stage than they did in the previous two games, which is nice to see. So this time, what do we get? Well, you get to choose whether to be a male or a female character, as we saw in the last game, called Ivor. And you, at the beginning of the game, you are based in Norway with your Viking clan, the Raven clan. And you've got like this family feud to settle in Norway, which takes several hours. And then you are kind of forced out of Norway, and you decide to head to England with your brother Sigurd, to conquer England, as Vikings did many centuries ago, or tried to do anyway. And that's it. You head to England, you try and forge some alliances, you try and take down the four sections of England on one at a time by building alliances, raiding castles, raiding camps along the way to get resources for your camp, because for the first time since, is it the second one, Assassin's Creed 2, you've actually got now a settlement, which I must admit is one of my favourite parts of this game, because I love games where you've got like a base of operations that you can return to and improve and see the improvements, and you get that here. You get your own settlement here, and the idea is you go off and do raids along the riverbanks, raid monasteries and things like that, for resources, and then you are able to upgrade your camp and build new things at your camp. You've got things like training camp for your soldiers, tattoo parlours, trading posts, hunting cabins. It goes on, and then you've got different stages of improvement for each, if you like, and the camp will upgrade and improve as you add more resources to it. So I really like that. The one thing this game really gets right is you got a sense of going home. When you've done a mission or you've done a raid and you head back to your camp, you've got this real sense and feeling of going home to some degree, which I really liked and appreciated. Now, we do get a continuation of the previous games storylines in regards to the animus and things like that. I'll be perfectly honest, it's very light touch here, as it was in the last two, really. It doesn't interfere too much in the game, and you're not in them scenes for long. I've never been a huge fan of the animus type stuff when you're out of the animus. and thankfully it doesn't interfere with proceedings too much. Right, so some of the things that they've changed this time round. Well, they've changed actually quite a lot. They've done quite subtle changes throughout the game, but they all kind of add up. You've got some like new activities in the world. You've got dice games. You've got drinking games. Of course you do. You're a Viking. And there's something called flighting, which is how you increase your charisma stat. And by that, it's like poems basically. It's like a poem voice battle, and if you win, you'll increase your charisma stat slightly, which will give you extra dialogue options occasionally. There's a real sense of verticality this time that was in Odyssey and Origins, but it feels like they've put a bit more attention into it this time, the verticality here. So it feels a little bit more of an Assassin's game in that sense, the verticality side of it. If you remember in Odyssey, just to synchronise, sometimes you just have to climb to the top of a building, and not always a particularly tall building. When here, you're going to have to climb cliffs and things like that to get to the top, and tops of castles and things to do that. So there's a real sense of verticality here, but I must admit the verticality doesn't feel as smooth as it did in Odyssey in regards to the climbing and the descending. It feels a little bit janky. And to be honest, there is quite a little bit of jank in this game. It could have done with a little bit more polish. There's some audio issues now and again when you're getting like the voice acting. There's like a split-second break, so you don't get all the voice acting now and again. The longboat that you use to traverse up and down the rivers gets stuck at the side really easily, and it's a nightmare to get out. It really is a little bit problematic. I've not had any crashes yet, and I've had over 30 hours playing this, thankfully, but I'm playing on a PlayStation Pro, so that might have something to do with it, I don't know. But you get your usual Ubisoft bugs and things in this game. I'm sure they'll patch them out and things. I wouldn't worry too much, and I'm quite tolerant for that sort of thing anyway, and it's not really spoiled my enjoyment of the game. This time round, in regards to the loot, if you remember in Odyssey, loot drops were frequent. You're almost drowning in loot, to be perfectly honest. And sometimes you get some really cool loot, and sometimes it was just troublesome because you were just dismantling it constantly. Loot. They've scaled that back massively this time, so you're like, if you really enjoyed it in the last game, the loot system, you might not enjoy it as much in this one. I'm okay with it actually. How the loot system works now is you will get an occasional drop, but not usually from enemies. It'll be like in treasure chests and things. You'll get some drops of weapons and armour and things like that. And then you will go to your blacksmith, and then you will get resources like ingots and things, and he will improve your armour stats, and he'll improve your armour, and even you can then improve the appearance of it. If you put enough resources into it, the appearance of it will change. So you can keep like the same armour set throughout the game if you wanted to. You just keep upgrading it, and the appearance will change. Very much like they did in Ghost of Tsushima. I forgot the name of it then. The armour system in that, you get like a base armour, and then you upgraded it, and it would change appearance every time you upgraded it. Similar concept here. You can also pick up resources on your travels, and you can, without going to a blacksmith, you can just upgrade the stats on your sword or your axe or your clothing, things like that, by collecting resources. You don't get massively bogged down anymore with like masses of side missions. They are there, but they're called world events now, and they're like, I think they are the blue dots on the maps and things, and you go to these blue dots and you'll get like a very brief mission. Most of them are quite comical, none of them are too taxing, and you could choose to do them if you want. You've got your Raven now above you. Again, but it feels a little bit pointless this time, if you're honest, because it can't literally specifically point out where certain things are and certain enemies are. It'll just give you an oversight of the area. It kind of feels a little bit of a useless mechanic now, if I'm being honest. The skill tree, right? The skill tree is vast, but I'm not sure I'm in love with the skill tree, if I'm honest, because you've got 3 specific areas. You've got your obviously your stealth, and then your melee, and then your range. So if you want to just focus on your melee, that's okay, but then you'll start finding stat increases in there of things for your range, and things for your stealth, and it's just like, oh, it doesn't make any sense. So there are bits and pieces of stats for each area you want to focus on all those skill trees, and you can't see them all, so you can't see where you want to aim for, what new abilities and things you want to unlock. They're like behind like some mist, and then they unlock as you unlock certain sections. So I'm not in love with the skill tree, but it's okay. What is the combat like? This is Assassin's Creed at the end of the day. Well, I've got to be honest, early on I wasn't overly keen on the combat. It felt a little bit floaty, a little bit janky. But as you put more time into the game, and as you progress your character and your skill trees, etc., it does get pretty cool, and the executions and stuff are pretty good that you don't particularly tire from. But there are aspects of the game that I think you're going to find repetitive. I did. I mean, essentially all you're doing when you get to England is the first 5 or 10 hours in England is pretty cool. After that, you kind of feel like you're treading the same old ground. You'll go to an area, you'll make allegiances in that area, you'll take out the people in that area that you need to take out with raids and castle sieges, and form bonds with this, that and the other, and then you'll go back and then you'll choose another area and you'll do the same thing. And each area you unlock, you've got new areas to raid and all that kind of stuff. It kind of gets a little bit repetitive, which I've never felt, certainly in the last couple of Assassin's Creed games, I've never felt. I mean, obviously Odyssey was incredibly long, and many people described it as bloated, and I do kind of agree with that. This, it kind of stands out here, the bloat, I have to be honest. But the story is interesting enough, the character of Ivor is interesting enough. The graphics are beautiful. I mean, really, really beautiful, as you would expect from a Ubisoft open world game. There's a lot here to enjoy, but I feel as though some of the things they've taken out from Odyssey, I think they've taken things out they shouldn't have done, and some of the things they've added don't necessarily make sense. Yes, the assassins are back, and there is a storyline that runs alongside you, but it kind of feels like it's in the background. Yes, you can put your hood up now and blend in, but it feels a little bit tacked on. Overall, I really am enjoying this game. I'm just not sure I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it as much as Odyssey, is what I would say. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And basically, just to summarise, if you did enjoy Origins and you enjoyed Odyssey, I'm sure you are going to find stuff in this game to enjoy. It's Assassin's Creed at the end of the day. It's still got that great DNA. They've tried to bring some stuff back in that will please some of the old fans. So yeah, that's my review for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I hope you liked it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and of course I will be back with more reviews and content on Screen Stars very, very soon.